Today we face our fears as we celebrate Halloween weekend and gaze into the eye of one of the deadliest reptiles on Earth, the Nile Crocodile. You know, this is one of two here as we stream live at Reptilia in Whitby. Nyati and Koboko, they're apex predators that kill about 1,000 people a year, and they are found across parts of Africa. These two, the other one's in the back, about mid-40s, looking pretty good, I think. It's that tough skin, huh? And they weigh about 1,000 pounds each. Boy, we're in for an amazing show here. We're not going to focus on crocodiles, but they are fascinating creatures. This is one of the country's largest reptile zoos, in Canada. I mean, we're talking over 31,000 square feet. There are two locations, this one in Whitby, the other one in Vaughan. And they have hundreds of different creatures on display, some of the most elusive and mysterious residents on Earth. Not all of them are reptiles. So we're going to give you a bit of a tour on this very special Halloween edition of Here and There. Such a pleasure to have your company today. Thank you for giving me some of your time on a very busy Friday, pushing into the Halloween weekend. We have all treats, no tricks, I promise. Sort of, coming up. And in fact, we're going to have a whole list of some of the phobias, the most common ones that maybe some of you can relate to. Also coming up, we'll have the Halloween forecast. I think overall it's going to be good. If you're deciding to take your kids out this year, we'll have those details. And what Halloween would be complete without a jack-o'-lantern? So we'll continue to walk this way. I'm going to show you a world record of the most lit up jack-o'-lanterns coming up in the program. This is out of the US. In fact, it's a record that remains intact to this very day. And a new AKQ. What should we ask you for the AKQ? Well, because it's Halloween, what is or was, maybe it still is, your favorite Halloween treat? It has to be a candy, think about it. And I have the top 5 list, by the way. So that's the question for today. For me, it has to be a Mars bar. And you know the beauty when they say fun size, it means you can have more than one, right? Right. So that's for me, but I'm asking you that. Which is your most favorite Halloween treat? And we'll get to those answers shortly. But today is a very special day. Not only is it Friday, October the 29th, it's Frankenstein Friday. Officially, I'm not making this up, it's the last Friday in October, and it is to pay homage to one of the greatest Gothic stories of all time. Of course, we're talking about that novel written by Mary Shelley over 200 years ago, that of Frankenstein. I want to show you a picture, in fact, of her and the iconic figure. Some of you, maybe your kids, will be dressing up as Frankenstein, but that's where it gets really interesting, guys, because in actual fact, you know, people often mistakenly refer to the monster as Frankenstein. In the book, it's actually Victor Frankenstein. He was that scientist who created the monster. He never named the monster in the book, but to this day, we refer to that creature as Frankenstein. Or dare I say, is it Frankenstein? Anybody remember that movie? Come on. Frankenstein? Yeah. Right? Young Frankenstein? Oh, look at this. Talking about face your fears. The gaze. Be very quiet. The gaze. Are you afraid of snakes? It's one of the most common fears, and I promise you we're going to meet a snake up close and personal. But isn't that amazing? Am I breakfast? Am I lunch? Am I dinner? Am I all of the above? And you know, truth be told, 9 times out of 10, snake does not want to bother you. And maybe that's what we're going to try to do today, is to dispel some of the myths. So look at this one here too. It must be my cologne, or maybe it's just Vern. You smell like a hot dog, Vern.
And tasty.
We have Cindy who's joining us, Christopher joining us, Wendy saying my favorite Halloween treat, and I'm dating myself here, is a popcorn ball. Wow. Yes, you are dating yourself, but that's okay. Give me some popcorn. Candy apples, says Penny Lynn from Oshawa. Tootsie Rolls from Donna. And also Narita says little Snickers. Oh, I'm a Snicker fan too. I love peanuts. And Sheila says, yuck, snakes. And Laura says, that snake doesn't look real, but I can assure you it is. Lonnie says, good afternoon, everybody, including the crew. I love candy corn. Oh, wow. Candy corn. Remember that? Kathy's wishing a happy Halloween to everybody and says my favorite treat is a tie between Kit Kat and Coffee Crisp. You know, Coffee Crisp is actually Canadian, right? I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, originally it came from Britain, but it's a Canadian manufactured candy, and you would have to look very hard in the U.S. to get it. So isn't that something? Margaret says, I've met a lot of snakes in my lifetime so far. Now, are you referring to literally snakes that slither on the ground, or some of the people that you met that have 2 legs and they just act like snakes? I don't know. I'm just asking. Lynn is saying she's watching it too, and Cindy says old-fashioned kiss candy. John Shepard is joining us, so we have already a lot of people joining us on a Friday, and we appreciate it. So what I want to do is we get into facing our fears here. You know, I mentioned the 2 locations, so we're giving you a quick little snippet of some of the creatures. And look at this one here. This is the Asian water monitor. What a cool looking creature there. I mean, it's just amazing. Average adult size, 6 to 8 feet. And about 50 pounds. The record was just shy of 11 feet and weighed 100 pounds, and found in mangrove swamps, tropical forests, and obviously near water. But this is in Southeast Asia, the Philippines through Indonesia, India, and Sri Lanka. But just an amazing creature. So this is just one of the many that you'll be able to see. But let's continue our tour, because as I mentioned, it's not just about reptiles that you can see here. There's many others, but you can see how they've set up the displays. Look at this one here. It's very active. Look here. I think it's a skink. Let's see if I get that right. Let's see if I get that right. Yeah, it is. Okay, it is a skink. And then we've got here, oh, look. This is the black rat snake sitting in the corner. Now, I got to be honest, that would kind of freak me out too if I saw that, you know, maybe by my footstep there, just sort of sitting in the corner. But again, you know, for the most part, they don't want to hurt you. And snakes, they really do so many wonderful things for the planet in terms of balancing the ecosystem. So let's continue our tour. We're streaming live at Reptilia, and we're going to meet up with one of the lead keepers, Ariana. It's kind of neat. We've got almost this whole side to ourselves, which is kind of cool. You know, you could pick a side of what you want to see. There's iguanas here. Look at the Burmese Python. Wow. Look at this. Now, I don't know if you can tell, there's almost a milky white haze on this snake, because this particular snake has just entered the shedding phase. So you can just see a little bit of a coating. So probably in the next 5 to 7 days, the whole skin will be removed. It'll probably rub it off on one of the rocks or the logs, and you'll see it, you know, on the bottom, and the keepers will take it out. But it's just amazing, you know, what nature can do. In fact, we're going to talk about some of those mechanisms in terms of what happens with some of the animals. But we've often mentioned, you know, some of the phobias, and I'll have the list a little bit later on, but arachnophobia is clearly one of the most popular. And you know, I did a poll on my Facebook page prior to the show asking you a number of items. What do you fear most? Whether it was bats, snakes, you know, mice, spiders. And again, which I'm not surprised, the top 2 were snakes and spiders. But some of you said all of the above, which I find interesting. But let's come around this corner here, because it's not just about reptiles. They also have these little guys. Take a look. This is Ariana. She's the lead keeper here at Reptilia, and we have what looks like a tarantula.
This is Rosie, one of our rose-haired tarantulas.
So where would we find Rosie, typically? Where would Rosie be living?
So these are a South American species of tarantula, so they really like the tropics.
And you know, my understanding is tarantulas, generally speaking, are, and in particular this type, quite docile.
Yeah, so rose-haired tarantulas in specific are pretty common in the pet trade because they're very docile. You can see that Rosie is quite relaxed right now, so it makes them really popular.
And where would we find these commonly?
In their native range?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're South American. So they are terrestrial, so they spend lots of time on the ground and in burrows, but they do like the tropics of South America.
So when you say Rosie, I'm assuming Rosie's a girl?
Rosie is a female, yes.
Okay, so is this the type of spider where the girls eat the guys after they mate?
Not always, no.
Not always?
No.
Okay.
It's always possible.
It's always possible. And they are venomous.
Yes.
They can't kill humans, though, could they?
Their venom is not strong enough generally to kill humans. Some people will actually have allergic reactions, which makes some reactions worse than others in some cases.
So how do these particular spiders then kill their food? Is the venom a part of it, or is it the little jaws?
Yeah, so they actually have little teeth. They don't have the same kind of mouth that we do, so they can't put anything in their mouth to chew it. So they use their venom to essentially turn it into a nice tasty bug smoothie, and then they slurp it all up that way.
Wow, this is perfect for lunch hour, eh? So, you know, when we talk about, we're showing one of the snakes, the Burmese python, and the shedding.
Yeah.
If I read this correctly, the tarantulas, they have quite an interesting molt ability. Is it true that if they lost a leg, through the molting process, they can actually replace it and grow a new one?
Some can, yeah. You see it a little bit more commonly in some species rather than others. It doesn't always grow back, but it is a possibility.
So that's pretty amazing if you think about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost the basis of a superhero, a character, right? We just grow an appendage back. Now, Rosie seems pretty chill. So would there be any indication that you would know that Rosie's a little annoyed and would want to, like, would it be a bite in terms of the venom?
So remember that they use their venom to catch their food. So if she bites me and uses her venom on me, that's almost one less meal that she gets to eat. So she does have her warning signs. She's going to do a little bit of a handstand if she's getting upset. If that doesn't work, she's going to turn around, and she's got these really nice little hairs on the back end of her, and she will actually kick those at you.
Actually project the hairs.
Yeah, she'll kick them.
So this is our lesson number one here as we celebrate Halloween weekend. If by chance you come across a tarantula and it's flicking hairs at you, you got to get out of dodge.
Go away, yeah.
Go away. That's very interesting, but the hairs don't have anything that would affect you physically.
They're very irritating. If you've ever worked with any fiberglass, it's kind of like that. Really, really irritating, and some species will actually for your eyes and your mouth.
Oh my, so now I'm going to take a step back. So you obviously feel very comfortable with Rosie, and Rosie sort of lives in here, and this is the Venomous Workshop. Tell me about that.
This is where most of our venomous animals are. So we do have one of our rattlesnakes that's right behind us as well, and then we've got some other species that are venomous in here. This is essentially where we kind of work with any animal that can be a little bit more dangerous than just their muscle power.
Right, no kidding. So do they, like all other spiders, rely on a web for their food, or because they have venom and they're a pretty large size, does it really need a web?
Tarantulas are a little bit different. They do actually spin web, but it's not the web that you would normally think of. So they are a burrowing species, and they actually line the entrance of their burrow with their web. So they don't necessarily use it to catch their food. They kind of use it more as a hold everything in place.
In place.
Yeah.
And would you find them more active at night or day, or does it matter because they're so big?
It doesn't really matter, no. They're usually a little bit more active during the day, but you can see them almost at all hours.
And in terms of food-wise, I'm assuming it's stuff that they could actually consume in a quick bite sort of thing. So it'd be a small bird or something like that?
These guys in specific are mainly insect eaters.
Insects?
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got your big, like, Goliath bird-eating tarantulas that very, very rarely will take down a bird. They tend to stick a little bit more to large or smaller mammals, but these guys are mainly insects.
Well, I feel better now. I mean, you know, so I'm like a ginormous thing that
We're way too big.
Way too big.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that something? So this is one of the creatures that you can see, as I mentioned, not only reptiles, but clearly arachnophobia, the fear of spiders, is very common. Why do you think that is? Why are people so afraid of spiders?
I think a lot of it comes from spiders being misunderstood, and all of the extra legs. And all of the speed on them. So they can be really fast, and they've got all those extra legs, and I think a lot of it comes from misunderstanding. They're really, really important animals. They help keep our insect populations down, especially pest insects. So I think a lot of it comes from all the extra legs and some misunderstanding.
And you know, you mentioned a very good point, that they have such a significant role in balancing the ecosystems, depending on wherever they are in the different types. I mean, they are true pest control ambassadors.
Yeah.
In fact, that's one thing that I like to say, although my wife is not thrilled, but you know, when we see one in a home, because some scientists think, generally speaking, on average, wherever you are on Earth, except Antarctica and stuff like that, you're probably no more than about 10 feet from some sort of spider.
Yes.
And you just let them be, because they get rid of they do insect control for you. Now, I agree, if you happen to see this crawling on the edge of your bed, that might be a little different.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, just let them be. Well, that's fantastic. So we're going to let you put Rosie away.
All right.
And then we're going to continue our tour here as we stream live at Reptilia. You know, it's interesting because there are literally tens of thousands of spiders on Earth. In fact, scientists say they've, you know, really identified about 40,000, but they think there may be 3 times that on Earth. So there's many more than we know, but I all think they have a special place, you know, wherever they happen to live. Now, I'm sure I have freaked out some of you guys, so let's get back into here. Catherine says, Happy Halloween. Thanks for the Frankenstein stories and pieces. Boo from Toronto, as in, you know, scary boo-boo. Lonnie says, good afternoon, and crew. Kathy says, Happy Halloween. And also, as we scroll down here, also Laura was pointing out the tongue on the snake. And Christopher says popcorn balls on the AKQ. Oh, Donna says licorice, the red one only. You know, I get into a phase of licorice. Sometimes I really want it, sometimes I don't. Ricardo, favorite Halloween candy?
Nothing.
You're not
Sweet enough.
Oh, Ricardo says he's sweet enough, apparently. Okay, well, I think that'll be next week's AKQ. Vern?
I like candy kisses.
Candy kisses, okay. Richard?
I'm caramel popcorn, the old-fashioned
Oh,
way.
yeah. Caramel, anything really for me. Anastasia?
Bounty bars for me.
Donkey bars?
Bounty.
Oh, Bounty Bar. Bounty. Oh, yes, Bounty Bars. Yes. So that's what we're asking you today. And Laura says used to love the Candy Rockets. Ron says caramel squares. Man, I love the caramel squares. I would, oh, you would get them all up, you would unwrap them, and then you'd eat them as a big bowl. I just love, honestly, I would do anything. And you know, the beauty thing is in school, they were small enough you could sneak one in. It wasn't like a chocolate bar, but yes, absolutely. Also, Linda says Mars bars and corn candy. Laura says, oh yes, she said the Candy Rockets. And Narita says, I don't like reptiles. Oh, you've got to. They do just so many amazing things on the planet, without question, and that's what we're trying to show as well. Cindy says we have a blue-tongued skink. He's over 13 years old now, and we got him when he was a baby. Well, isn't that something? Very cool. John Shepard says, anyone else remember eating bottle caps as a kid? I'm not familiar. Bottle caps? Bottle cap? Now, I'm sure it's some sort of candy. He's not talking about metal, but maybe somebody can join in on that. Carol says, my favorite is Kit Kat and M&M peanuts. I do have, by the way, the top 5, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. But, oh, hold on. Bottle caps had totally forgotten. Laura seems to know it. Look at this snake here. This is called a false water cobra. That's pretty impressive. In fact, what I want to get into is the most common phobias. So I'll bring up a board for you, because along with arachnophobia is also ophidiophobia. Ophidiophobia, that is the fear of snakes, as we recount some of the most common phobias to people. And we're going to see a snake in person, literally. It'll be outside of the glass coming up. You don't want to miss that. But let me break down all the different common phobias. So in addition to the fear of spiders and fear of snakes, we have also acrophobia, and that is the fear of heights. Also aerophobia. So in the same vein of height, but really it's the fact that you're in an airplane. You know, you're up in the air and you're stuck into this metal tube. And they say 1 out of 3 people have some level of fear of flying. There's also, I found this one, trypanophobia, interesting, trypanophobia, and that is the fear of injections or needles. And I wonder, and I don't want to open up this can of worms and talk about vaccinations, but there might be a small group of people that are hesitant because they have such a fear of needles. So, Ricardo, just watch out to the side. There's people behind us. We'll stay over here and we'll let everybody come by. No problem. We don't want to stop anything. Hi there, guys. Hello. Hi. So those are some of the most common phobias. Now, the next animal that we're going to show you is not on the most common phobia list, that's for sure. But I wanted to include this because it's a local creature that I'm sure if you saw it maybe at your cottage, you would be afraid that it would snip your finger off. And that is right here, a snapping turtle. And I have to tell you, a beautiful creature. I have rescued 2 so far in my neighborhood who've gotten onto the roadway, put them back into the near swamp pond sort of thing. So first of all, it looks kind of heavy.
It's a little heavy, yeah.
Heavy. So, how old is this particular one, and how much would you say it weighs roughly?
So we don't actually know how old he is. He actually came from what's called a wildlife kidnapping situation where people thought that he needed help, so they brought him home. He was actually started his life out in the wild,
right?
And once they live for a certain amount of time in captivity, unfortunately, they're not able to be released.
Right.
So he. We don't know his age. If I had to guess a weight, I'd probably say somewhere around 15 pounds. Doesn't sound very heavy, but they're very dense.
Very dense. And you know, there's a good takeaway here is that this is part of the problem, isn't it? I mean, you know, it's great to leave them out in nature. Some people think they make great pets, and unfortunately what happens, they either get abandoned or they get confiscated. And some of the animals here, in essence, are rescues, where they get a second chance at life because you can't bring this back out into the wild. It wouldn't survive. So I think that's very important to note. Now, this is the country's largest. This is the country's largest freshwater turtle. It is found in Ontario, right?
Yes, they are. Found pretty commonly in cottage country.
Oh, I see. He's looking at this one here too. Sorry.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. It's like, yeah, I want to be a star as well. Isn't that something? And this particular species is listed as a special concern, right? What does that mean?
So it means that we might be seeing a little bit of a trend in their population decline. It just means that we need to keep a little bit of a closer eye on them and their population.
And average lifespan of these would be roughly?
It can sit anywhere from 20 to 50, 60 years.
Wow.
You can get really, really old individuals. Usually the average for these guys is going to sit around 50, 40 years.
Isn't that something?
They might get a little older.
And I have to ask you, could it take my finger off?
This guy?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Mojo down here, who is trying to be a star as well, absolutely could though.
Could do it.
Yes.
Now, this is not native to Ontario, this one here?
No. So these guys are from the southeastern United States. They don't quite get all the way up here.
Right.
We've just got the commons here.
Right. Could you put them together or they would not get along?
No, they wouldn't get along. Snapping turtles have a little bit of a tendency to snap.
Right.
When they're together.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's over his mouth. Well, that's very interesting. And you can see actually the mouth difference here, or the snout. Is that what we call it, a snout?
Yeah, mouth, snout.
Okay. So you can see it's quite pronounced. This one, not quite as pronounced. But honestly, I think just an amazing looking creature because it is almost, you know, akin to the dinosaur age, right? Like this is that step where you're able to interact. So beautiful stuff. And look at the size of the...
Just watch your hand there. Yeah. Long neck. Yeah, long neck.
You know what? I think I'm going to let you take... Do we have a name, by the way, for this one?
This is Glenn.
Take Glenn where Glenn needs to go.
All right.
We're going to get into the forecast, and then we're really going to face our fears with a snake, an unbelievable snake, coming up as we're streaming up live here on Reptilia. So thank you, Ariana. I'll let you do your thing. And we'll get to our forecast, guys. We'll start off by letting you know that the weather is brought to you by the Big Blue Marble Podcast. Listen in to the undeniable stories of our changing planet and the amazing people trying to save it. It's available now on your favorite podcast player and also at bigbluemarble.earth. So as we continue, Penny Lynn says Smarties and caramel bars. And Tammy says rocket candy and candy apples are a family fave. Well, I like that too. Linda says you're on your own when it comes to a snake. And also, Lonnie says, oh, she's watching us too. And what I want to do, we're going to get to the board of the top Halloween treats. So Jason, if you could bring that up, and then we're going to face our fears with the snake in just a moment. But the most popular Halloween treats, I want to show you this board. And let's see if yours are on this. So number 5 was Sour Patch Kids. Number 4 were Snickers. 3 were Skittles. You know, Skittles, by the way, were one of the first products in the world to utilize social media and to push a campaign, you know, Taste the Rainbow campaign, which is still into existence. And then number 2 was M&M's. And the number 1 most popular Halloween treat, any guesses, any guesses? It is, in fact, the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, the most popular Halloween treat. There'll be $3 billion spent on Halloween candy in the U.S. alone. It is quite significant. So we're streaming live here, and you guys ready to face our fears? And I want to show you this one here. Now this is a yellow anaconda, if I have this correctly, a very large one. So tell me about this one.
So this is Annie. She's one of our yellow anacondas. She would prefer to be on the ground today, so we're gonna let her
Do her thing.
have her preference. She's a really large snake, so in situations where I try and force her to do something,
Sure.
she's much stronger than I am. So
I'm guessing 2 meters?
she's around somewhere between 7 and 8 feet.
Wow. And the one thing, I mean, obviously, this anaconda, by the way, is related to the green anaconda, which is up here, and that is the largest, snake in the world. But they have teeth, actually, so we've got to be careful of the head, I'm assuming, right?
They do have teeth. All snakes have teeth. They are pretty small and pretty pointy, though, so they can't really do a lot of like chewing or tearing. But they do have pretty powerful jaws, big teeth. And they could do quite a number if they wanted to.
So the idea is that the teeth would grab on to prey and draw it in? Is that sort of the idea?
Yeah, so when they are finding some food, what they'll do is they'll actually strike out, bite, they'll pull it in, and they will coil around it. You can see she's got quite a bit of muscle tone on her. For really, really powerful animals, so they'll use their teeth to pull them in, wrap around, and then that's how they eventually kill their prey.
So the idea, it's all about the constriction
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And we can see the tongue going. I mean, that's a sensory factory, right?
Yeah.
So is that sort of assessing where it's going? Is it sensing for food and prey, or all of the above?
Kind of all of the above. So essentially what they're doing is every single time their tongue goes out of their mouth, they're just going to pick up all these little scent particles in the air that we can't see or smell, pull them back into their mouth, and then they have a really special organ on the roof of their mouth that tells them everything they're smelling, how far away it is approximately, which direction it's coming from. So she knows that if it's food, to go the proper direction on whatever side those scent particles are stronger, and if it's a predator, to go the opposite.
And I'm assuming not very fussy when it comes to eating.
Not very fussy, no. These guys are, these guys will eat almost anything.
My goodness. Now, when you say that, where would we typically find the yellow anaconda?
So just like Rosie, she is a South American species. You can find them in the Amazon basin. They are very aquatic, though. So if you take a look at her head, you can see their eyes and her nose are on the top of her head.
Right.
So she's an ambush predator, and she'll actually wait submerged in water for animals to come by and get a drink.
Well, I hate to tell the bad news to you, Ricardo, but apparently you are lunch, my friend. It's going after your cologne, I think. You smell maybe like roast pig. I don't know. Well, that's amazing. Can I ask you, just as we get set to wrap up, why do you think also, snakes get such a bad rap?
So snake, much like the tarantula that has all those extra legs, I think the fact that snakes have no legs also creeps people out.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they are a little bit unpredictable and people think that they're a really kind of cold reptile with no thought process going on. A lot of people are like made to believe that they're going to be like this cold-blooded killing machine.
Right.
And I think that stems from people seeing the power in them, and also people being a little bit creeped out about the fact that they have no legs.
Right. But they also have such a valuable role, right?
They do,
in
yeah.
nature.
They definitely, just like Rosie does, they help to keep that pest population down. However, these guys are a little bit too big to eat insects, so they will help keep any like rodent pest populations down and things like that. So comes down to if you'd rather have one snake in your backyard or 100 mice in your backyard.
Well, you see, now there it is. I think some would say I'm living with the mice. Not me. I'm all for it. Well, I think this is fantastic. We want to thank you so much. Ariana is one of the lead keepers here at Reptilia, and the 2 locations, Vaughan and Whitby, and you can go to reptilia.org to get all the hours and the exact addresses. This one in Whitby, a huge spot, and a lot of engagement and interaction you do with your guests as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got shows every single day and public feedings.
Okay, well, we're going to let you take, did we have a name again for this one? For Annie, because Annie's after Ricardo, and I need Ricardo. So I'm protecting you, Ricardo. So we're going to say goodbye to Annie. We're going to walk this way. Again, if you have the fear of snakes, if you just let them be, they're not going to do anything. So let's hop this way as we stream live. Just before we wrap up, I know we're running late on time. I want to take you very quickly to Keene, New Hampshire, and show you the video of the world's largest collection of lit jack-o'-lanterns or pumpkins. And this video, I have to tell you, as we flip to it, is actually from 2013. They have broken the record many years and it remains intact. And we're talking over 30,000 pumpkins that were carved and lit up. And what's interesting here, for it to qualify in terms of it actually making a record, is that all of the pumpkins had to be carved intentionally, and also there had to be illumination for at least 5 minutes. I wish you a happy and safe Halloween weekend, and I hope you'll join me next week. Where will we be? Well, here and there. Take care, my friends. See you later.